In the quiet hours before dawn, somewhere beneath the forest canopy, a small fish is working. He's been at this for 7 days straight, flapping his fins against the sandy seafloor in precise, deliberate movements. The pattern emerging beneath him is geometric, almost mathematical in its perfection. Circles within circles, ridges aligned with the precision of a compass, 2 meters across. A work of art created by a creature no longer than your hand. He's building this not for shelter, not for food, but for love, and he is far from alone in his efforts. Welcome to Bedtime Biology, where science meets serenity. Each night, we explore the quiet wonders of the natural world, calming your mind and sparking your curiosity. If you like these videos, please consider subscribing to the channel and commenting below if you have any feedback or suggestions for topics of future episodes. Tonight, we're stepping into one of nature's most extraordinary arenas. Not battlefields, but stages. Places where elaborate performances unfold, where colors flash and bodies move in choreographed sequences, where construction projects span days and dances last for hours. These are the courtship rituals of the natural world, love stories written not in words, but in movement, light, and form. From tiny spiders no bigger than a pencil eraser, to fish that reshape the ocean floor. From beetles that speak in flashes of cold light, to birds whose plumage defies description. We'll discover how the drive to reproduce has sculpted some of the most beautiful and bizarre behaviors on Earth. The performances we'll witness tonight are the product of millions of years of evolution, shaped by countless generations of choosy partners. Every dance move, every color pattern, every architectural flourish exists because somewhere in the deep past, it caught someone's attention. It made a heart beat faster, if you'll allow the anthropomorphism. It led to offspring. And those offspring carried forward not just the traits that attracted their mother, but also her preferences themselves. Generation after generation, these feedback loops have amplified and refined, creating displays of such complexity and beauty that they've captivated human observers for centuries. Yet, for the animals themselves, these are not performances for our benefit. They are conversations in languages we're only beginning to understand, negotiations written in light and motion, arguments made with architecture and art. As the world outside grows quiet and still, let's enter these hidden theatres. Let's watch the dancers and the builders, the flashers and the singers. Let's explore the science behind the spectacle, the evolution behind the elegance. Let's discover what these elaborate rituals reveal about the powerful forces that shape life on Earth. And let's marvel at the extraordinary lengths to which creatures will go for a chance at the future, for a moment of connection, for love. Before we step into the spotlight, with individual performers, we need to understand the stage itself. Courtship, at its most fundamental level, is communication. It's information flowing between potential mates, signals sent and received, messages encoded in everything from chemical compounds to carefully constructed structures. But unlike many forms of animal communication, courtship involves something more complex than simple transmission of data. It involves persuasion, it involves choice, and it involves often deception. The evolutionary biologist would tell you that courtship exists because of a fundamental asymmetry in reproduction. In most species, males and females make different investments in offspring. Females typically produce fewer, larger gametes, eggs that contain resources for the developing embryo. Males produce many, smaller gametes, sperm that contribute little beyond genetic material. This difference creates different selective pressures. A female's reproductive success is often limited by the quality of her offspring and her ability to raise them. A male's reproductive success is often limited by the number of females he can mate with. These divergent interests create what Charles Darwin first identified as sexual selection, a force distinct from natural selection, though equally powerful in shaping life. In 1859, when Darwin published On the Origin of Species, he devoted surprisingly little space to sexual selection, mentioning it only briefly. But 12 years later, in The Descent of Man and Selection in Relation to Sex, he explored the concept in depth. He had been puzzled by traits that seemed to contradict natural selection. The elaborate tail of the peacock, for instance, seemed to hinder survival rather than enhance it. It was conspicuous to predators, metabolically expensive to grow, and cumbersome to carry around. Yet peacocks had these tails, and peahens seemed to prefer males with the most elaborate displays. Darwin proposed that such traits evolved not because they helped males survive, but because they helped males reproduce. They attracted mates, and if attracting mates led to more offspring, then over time, males with more attractive traits would become more common in the population, even if those traits slightly reduced survival. This insight was revolutionary, but it raised as many questions as it answered. Why should females prefer males with elaborate traits? What information do these displays convey? How do preferences themselves evolve? These questions have occupied evolutionary biologists for more than a century, and they've proposed several answers, each capturing something true about different courtship systems. One influential idea is the handicap principle, proposed by biologist Amos Zahavi in 1975. Zahavi suggested that elaborate displays are honest signals precisely because they're costly. A peacock's tail announces, in effect, "I'm so fit that I can survive despite this burden." A male who can afford to invest energy in growing a massive tail, who can escape predators while dragging it behind him, must be genuinely healthy and vigorous. Females who choose such males are choosing mates with good genes, genes that might help their offspring survive. The display is reliable because it cannot be faked. Only genuinely fit males can bear the cost. Another perspective emphasizes pre-existing sensory biases. Perhaps females don't evolve preferences for male traits. Perhaps males evolve traits that exploit preferences that females already have for other reasons. If a female's visual system is particularly sensitive to certain colors because those colors indicate ripe fruit, males who happen to display those colors might capture her attention more effectively. Over time, natural selection would favor males with more intense displays of that color, even if the color itself has nothing to do with male quality. The preference came first, evolution suggests, and male traits followed. A third view focuses on the information content of displays. Complex multimodal displays, signals that combine visual, acoustic, and chemical components, might provide more complete information about male quality. A male who can coordinate multiple signal types, who can dance while singing while displaying colors, demonstrates neuromuscular coordination, metabolic capacity, and developmental precision. Females assessing such displays gain a more complete picture of potential mates. These theories are not mutually exclusive. All probably play roles in different species, in different contexts. What unites them is the recognition that courtship displays have evolved under intense scrutiny, shaped by generations of choosy females making consequential decisions. Every flash, every dance move, every carefully placed shell exists because it communicates something. It catches attention. It holds interest. It persuades. The result is a spectacular diversity of courtship systems across the animal kingdom. Some are brief encounters, lasting mere seconds. Others unfold over days or weeks. Some involve elaborate constructions that dwarf the builders. Others consist of nothing more than a sequence of flashes in the dark. Some are visual spectacles of colour and motion. Others are invisible to human eyes, playing out in wavelengths we cannot perceive, or with vibrations we cannot feel. But all share this common thread. They are conversations about the future, negotiations between potential parents, signals sent in hopes of being chosen. As we explore specific courtship rituals in the sections ahead, watch for these themes. Notice the costs animals pay to perform. Consider the information displays might convey. Think about the sensory systems receivers use to assess signals. And marvel at the cumulative weight of countless choices made by countless choosy partners. Choices that have shaped bodies and behaviors into forms that seem almost too elaborate, too beautiful, too carefully crafted to be real. Yet they are real. They are happening right now, in forests and oceans, in meadows and deserts, in the depths and in the shallows. They are the language of desire, spoken in 1,000 different dialects, and they are among the most extraordinary phenomena in the living world. In the rainforests and scrublands of Australia and New Guinea, an artist is at work. He's been building for weeks, and his creation is nearly complete. It's an avenue made of thousands of sticks, each one carefully selected and woven into walls that form a narrow corridor. The walls are precisely aligned, opening onto a cleared court where the real magic happens. This court is his gallery, his stage, and over weeks and months he's collected exactly the right objects to decorate it. Bright blue feathers, flower petals, berries, shells, even discarded bottle caps and bits of coloured glass. Anything with a right hue, the right shine. He arranges them by colour, clustering blues together, separating yellows from reds. Some objects are placed carefully according to size, with larger items at the back and smaller ones at the front, creating an optical illusion that makes everything appear uniform when viewed from inside the avenue. This is not a nest. He will never raise young here. This is a stage designed for a single purpose, to capture the attention and approval of passing females. This is the bower, and its architect is the bowerbird. The bowerbird family comprises 27 species spread across Australia and New Guinea, and their courtship systems represent some of the most sophisticated examples of sexual selection in the animal kingdom. Males of most species are polygynous, mating with multiple females in a breeding season, and females raise offspring entirely on their own, building simple cup nests in trees far from the bowers. This mating system creates intense competition among males for female attention, and over evolutionary time, that competition has driven the development of increasingly elaborate displays. The structures themselves come in two main architectural styles. Avenue bowers consist of two parallel walls of vertically placed sticks, creating a corridor through which females can view the male's display. Maypole bowers involve sticks stacked around one or more saplings, forming towers that can exceed 2 meters in height. Some species construct both elements, combining towers with surrounding courts. The golden bowerbird of northern Australia builds a structure that includes 2 towers connected by a horizontal perch, creating a construction that can weigh more than 100 kilograms. Built entirely from sticks by a bird that weighs less than 100 grams. But it's the satin bowerbird that has captured the most scientific attention, particularly for its use of colour. Mature males have glossy blue-black plumage with violet eyes, and they are obsessed with the colour blue. They collect blue objects with singular focus, bright blue feathers, blue flowers, blue plastic, blue anything they can find. Research has shown they have strong preferences for specific shades, generally favouring violet blues over greenish blues. They'll steal desirable blue objects from neighbouring males' bowers, and they'll vigorously defend their own collections. Some males even create blue paint, mixing plant material with saliva and charcoal to create a pigment they apply to the interior walls of their bowers using a bark tool, one of the few documented examples of tool use in birds. Why blue? The answer likely relates to the satin bowerbird's visual system and the rarity of blue objects in their environment. Blue is a relatively uncommon colour in Australian forests, making blue objects particularly conspicuous. Males who can collect and display many blue objects demonstrate their ability to search extensively, to compete successfully with rivals, and to maintain a high-quality display over time. The colour becomes a signal of effort and competitive ability. But the bowerbird's innovations go beyond mere collection. Recent research has revealed that males create sophisticated visual effects within their bowers. The great bowerbird, for instance, arranges objects according to size to create a forced perspective illusion. From the female's viewing position inside the avenue, all objects appear to be the same size, even though objects at the back of the court are much larger than those at the front. This illusion counteracts the normal perspective cue that makes distant objects appear smaller. Why create this illusion? Researchers suggest it makes the male himself appear larger and more impressive when he stands at the back of his court during displays. Males whose illusions are better constructed, whose size gradients are more precisely matched to create perfect uniformity from the female's viewpoint, achieve higher mating success. The bower itself may have originally evolved as a device to protect females from forced copulation. In many bird species, males are physically dominant over females and can coerce matings. But bowerbirds are unusual. The structure of the bower, particularly the avenue type, creates a barrier between male and female during display. For a male to reach a female standing inside the avenue, he must move around the structure, giving an uninterested female time to escape. This protective function may have been the bower's original adaptive value, allowing females to safely assess multiple males before choosing. Once this function was established, females could become even more discriminating, favouring males whose bowers offered better protection, or whose displays were more impressive, driving the evolution of increasingly elaborate structures and performances. The displays themselves are frenetic, energetic performances that combine vocalizations with ritualized movements. A male satin bowerbird performing for a female will pick up objects and present them, toss them in the air, point at them with his bill. He'll make buzzing, clicking, and mechanical sounds, including impressive mimicry of other species and environmental sounds. His body posture changes constantly, wings spreading, crest raising, body swaying. He'll rush toward the female, then retreat, testing her interest. The entire performance can last from a few minutes to over an hour, and females may visit multiple males before making a choice. What are females assessing during these visits? Research suggests multiple factors matter. Bower construction quality is important, particularly for younger females. A well-built bower with intact walls, proper alignment, and a carefully maintained court indicates male building skill and commitment. Decoration quantity and quality also matter. Males with more and better quality decorations tend to have higher mating success, but the male's behavioral display is at least twice as important as his bower, especially for older, more experienced females. These females have seen many bowers and many displays, and they're assessing the male's performance, his coordination, his stamina, his ability to execute complex sequences of movements while vocalizing. Young males spend years as apprentices, watching established males display and gradually building their own rudimentary bowers. It can take 7 years or more for a male to perfect his skills sufficiently to attract mates. During this time, he's learning not just how to build, but what to build. There's evidence for cultural transmission of bower styles and decoration preferences within populations. When researchers introduced novel colored objects to certain areas, local males gradually incorporated them into their bowers, and younger males followed suit, creating local traditions. The bowerbird system reveals courtship at its most elaborate, where males have become architects and decorators, where displays incorporate multiple sensory modalities and sophisticated visual illusions, where learning and culture play roles alongside instinct. These birds demonstrate that sexual selection can drive the evolution of cognitive abilities, aesthetic sensibilities, and construction behaviors that rival or exceed those found in many mammals. All for a brief moment of female attention, a chance at reproduction, a shot at passing their genes and their preferences forward into the next generation. The bower stands as testament to the power of choice, to the accumulated weight of decisions made by thousands of generations of female bowerbirds, each one selecting the male whose stage, whose performance, whose art spoke to something deep in her perceptual and cognitive systems. In doing so, they've created one of nature's most remarkable examples of extended phenotype, proof that evolution can shape not just bodies, but buildings, not just plumage, but performance, not just genes, but art. As twilight deepens into night across meadows and marshlands, the first flickers appear, brief, barely visible against the darkening sky, then more confident, rhythmic. Green-yellow sparks tracing paths through the air above the grass. This is language without sound, communication written in light. These are fireflies, and they're searching for love in the darkness. The firefly family Lampyridae comprises over 2,000 species of beetles found in temperate and tropical regions worldwide. Most species are nocturnal or crepuscular, active during twilight and darkness, and many have evolved one of nature's most efficient forms of communication. They produce light through a chemical reaction so optimized that very little energy is lost as heat. It's called bioluminescence, cold light generated by living organisms, and in fireflies, it serves primarily as a courtship signal. The chemistry behind the glow is elegant in its simplicity, though perfected over millions of years of evolution. Inside specialized organs in the firefly's abdomen, a molecule called luciferin combines with oxygen in the presence of an enzyme called luciferase and ATP, the universal energy currency of cells. The reaction oxidizes the luciferin, producing a molecule in an excited state that releases energy as a photon of light when it returns to ground state. The color of light produced varies by species, ranging from yellow through green to orange, depending on slight differences in the structure of the luciferase enzyme and the environment inside the light organ. What makes this reaction so remarkable is its efficiency. Over 95% of the energy goes into light production rather than heat. By comparison, an incandescent light bulb converts only about 5% of energy into visible light, wasting the rest as heat. But efficiency isn't what makes firefly bioluminescence special for our story tonight. It's control. Fireflies can turn their lights on and off with exquisite precision, controlling the timing, duration, and intensity of each flash. They accomplish this by regulating oxygen delivery to the light organ. Special cells called tracheoles transport oxygen from the air to tissues throughout the insect's body. Fireflies can control how much oxygen reaches the light organ by releasing or withholding a signaling molecule called nitric oxide. When nitric oxide is present, it binds to mitochondria in the light organ, allowing oxygen to flow in and light production to occur. When nitric oxide breaks down, oxygen is blocked and the light switches off. This system allows fireflies to produce flashes, lasting from a fraction of a second to several seconds, with precise control over timing and pattern. And pattern is everything in firefly courtship. Each species has evolved its own flash pattern, a unique signature in light. In North American species of the genus Fortinus, males fly above the ground, typically between 1 and 3 meters high, following species-specific flight paths and producing characteristic flash patterns. The common eastern firefly, Fortinus pyralis, produces a single flash that rises and falls in intensity over about half a second as the male flies in a distinctive J-shaped path. Another species might produce a double flash, 2 quick pulses separated by a precise interval. Still another might flash multiple times in rapid succession while hovering. These patterns are remarkably stereotyped within a species, consistent enough that experienced observers can identify firefly species by their flash patterns alone, much as birders identify bird species by their songs. Females of most Fortinus species don't fly during courtship. Instead, they perch on vegetation or on the ground, watching the male's displays. When a female sees a male of her species producing the correct flash pattern, she responds with a flash of her own, typically a single pulse of specific duration, produced after a species-specific delay. This delay is crucial. Male Fortinus pyralis, for instance, flash approximately every 6 seconds. A receptive female waits about 2 seconds after seeing a male flash, then produces her own response flash. The male, seeing the response at the right time and in the right place, adjusts his flight path toward the female and flashes again. The female responds again. This dialogue continues, sometimes for over an hour, as the male gradually zeroes in on the female's location. The precision of these interactions is remarkable. Research has shown that females can distinguish flash patterns that differ by tiny fractions of a second. Males whose flashes are slightly longer, or whose flash rates are slightly faster, tend to be more attractive to females. In at least 2 species, higher flash rates and greater flash intensity are associated with higher mating success. These preferences make sense from the female's perspective. Flash production is metabolically expensive, and males who can produce brighter, faster flashes are likely healthier and more vigorous individuals. The flash becomes an honest signal of male quality, one that females use to make consequential mate choice decisions. But firefly communication involves more than simple on-off signals. Recent research reveals additional layers of complexity. In some species, females can assess male body size from flash patterns. Larger males produce slightly different flash characteristics than smaller males, and females appear able to detect these differences and prefer larger males. In the Asian firefly Aquatica lateralis, researchers discovered that flashes can contain flicker, rapid oscillations in intensity during a single flash pulse. The degree of flicker changes depending on the firefly's reproductive state. Receptive virgin females produce short flashes with low flicker intensity. Mated females produce longer flashes with high flicker intensity. Males are attracted to the former pattern and avoid the latter, showing they can extract this detailed information from flash signals. Some firefly species have taken flash communication to even more spectacular heights through synchronization. In parts of Southeast Asia, particularly along riverbanks in Malaysia and Thailand, thousands of male fireflies can gather in a single tree and flash in perfect unison, creating a pulsing beacon visible from hundreds of meters away. In North America, two species are known for synchronous flashing: Photinus carolinus in the Great Smoky Mountains and Photurus frontalis in places like South Carolina's Congaree National Park. In these species, males apparently synchronize to give everyone a fair chance at being seen by females, and to help females more easily identify and respond to individual males within the crowd. The story becomes even more complex when we consider fireflies that don't produce light as adults. Several species in the genus Elychnia are diurnal, active during daylight hours, and have lost adult bioluminescence entirely. These species use pheromones, chemical signals, to find mates instead. This represents the ancestral condition. Light production in Lampyridae originally evolved as a warning display in larvae, advertising distastefulness to potential predators. Only later was this ability co-opted for adult courtship communication, and it's been repeatedly gained and lost across the family tree as species adapted to different ecological niches and mating systems. The firefly system also reveals the darker side of sexual signals. Females of the genus Photurus are larger and more aggressive than Photinus females, and they've evolved a disturbing ability. They can mimic the flash patterns of Photinus females. When a Photinus male responds to what he thinks is a receptive female of his species, he instead encounters a predatory Photurus female who will attack and eat him. This aggressive mimicry serves a dual purpose. The Photurus female gains nutrition, but more importantly, she gains chemical defenses. Photinus males contain lucibuffogens, defensive steroids that make them distasteful to many predators. By consuming Photinus males, Photurus females acquire these protective chemicals and pass them on to their eggs, making their offspring less vulnerable to predators. It's a remarkable example of evolutionary co-option, a courtship signal hijacked and weaponized, used to lure prey rather than attract mates. As we watch fireflies dancing through summer darkness, flashing their coded messages, we're witnessing one of nature's most efficient communication systems in action. These insects have solved the problem of finding mates in darkness by evolving biological flashlights, using chemistry to produce light, and using that light to transmit species-specific patterns, recognized by potential mates. They've refined these signals over millions of years until they convey not just identity, but quality, not just location, but receptivity. And they've done all this while maintaining a system so efficient that the light produced generates virtually no waste heat, a feat of engineering that human technology has only recently begun to approach. Every flash is a word in a language written in light. Every response is a reply in a dialogue millions of years old. And every successful conversation leads to the next generation, to new flashes who will carry forward both the signals and the preferences, continuing the conversation into the future, keeping the lights dancing in the darkness. In seagrass meadows and coral reefs, among rocky crevices and kelp forests, a morning appointment is about to be kept. As light begins to filter down through the water, two small fish separate from their resting places and swim toward each other. They meet at their usual spot, a particular holdfast or rock outcropping that marks the male's territory. What happens next is a dance, graceful and intimate, a daily reaffirmation of a bond that may last for life. These are seahorses, and their courtship is among the most romantic and extraordinary in the ocean. Seahorses belong to the family Syngnathidae, which also includes pipefish and sea dragons. There are approximately 45 species of seahorse worldwide, found in tropical and temperate coastal waters, and all share several unusual adaptations. Their prehensile tails allow them to anchor to underwater vegetation. Their elongated snouts enable them to feed on tiny crustaceans with remarkable precision. Their bony plated armor provides protection from predators. And most remarkably, males become pregnant, carrying developing embryos in specialized brood pouches until they're ready to be born as fully formed miniature seahorses. But before we get to male pregnancy, we need to understand the courtship that precedes it, because seahorse courtship is not a single event, but an ongoing process that structures the entire breeding cycle. Many seahorse species are monogamous for at least a breeding season, with individual males and females forming long-term pair bonds. This was first discovered by researchers with Project Seahorse, studying the white seahorse in eastern Australia, and subsequent studies have documented similar bonding in numerous other species. The pair bond begins with an elaborate courtship dance that can last for hours or even days. When male and female seahorses first encounter each other, they engage in a series of displays that gradually escalate in intensity and intimacy. They change colors, their bodies brightening visibly as they move together. They link tails, intertwining their prehensile appendages as they move through the water. They perform synchronized swimming, rising and falling in the water column together, spiraling around a shared holdfast. These movements are fluid and graceful, the two fish moving as one, their bodies brightening further as the dance intensifies. The male seahorse plays an active role in these displays, particularly in what researchers call pumping behavior. He inflates his brood pouch with water, expanding it to show the female, then contracts it forcefully to expel the water. This display serves multiple functions. It cleans the pouch in preparation for receiving eggs. It demonstrates to the female that the pouch is empty and ready. And it may provide information about pouch size and condition, factors that could influence how many eggs the female decides to transfer. As the courtship dance reaches its climax, the pair rises together through the water column in what's been described as a mid-water ballet. They must align precisely, the female's ovipositor, a tubular extension from her body, with the opening of the male's brood pouch. This alignment is difficult to achieve, and pairs often make many attempts before succeeding. When they finally manage the connection, the female transfers her eggs directly into the male's pouch in a process that takes just a few seconds. She may transfer hundreds or even more than 1,000 eggs, depending on the species and her size. Larger females produce more eggs, and they tend to mate with larger males who have larger brood pouches capable of accommodating more embryos. Once the eggs are safely in the pouch, the pair separates. The male gently sways and adjusts, settling the eggs within the pouch, where they will attach to the inner walls. The female swims away, and the male begins his pregnancy, a period that will last anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks, depending on the species and water temperature. But here's where seahorse courtship becomes truly remarkable. The courtship doesn't end with egg transfer. Instead, it continues throughout the male's pregnancy in the form of daily greeting dances. Every morning, typically around dawn, the female approaches the male's territory. When they meet, they perform an abbreviated version of their original courtship dance. They change colours, brightening visibly. They link tails. They promenade together, moving in synchrony around their holdfast. This greeting dance lasts only a few minutes, perhaps 6 minutes on average in well-studied species. But it happens every single day throughout the pregnancy. Even if injury prevents actual mating or egg transfer, females have been observed continuing to visit their paired males, suggesting these daily reunions serve important functions beyond immediate reproduction. What are these functions? Researchers believe the daily greetings serve multiple purposes. They reinforce the pair bond, maintaining connection and familiarity between partners. They allow each partner to assess the other's condition and reproductive state. For the female, these visits may provide information about when the male will give birth, allowing her to time her next batch of eggs accordingly. Indeed, on the day the male gives birth, the female often has a new clutch of eggs ready, and the pair may mate again within hours of the male releasing his young. The male's pregnancy itself is extraordinary. After receiving the eggs, his brood pouch undergoes dramatic changes, transforming into something remarkably similar to a mammalian placenta. The inner lining becomes highly vascularized, with blood vessels proliferating to bring oxygen and nutrients to the developing embryos. The pouch wall thins, allowing for maximum contact between the male's circulatory system and the embryos. The male regulates the chemistry of the fluid inside the pouch, gradually changing it from his own body fluids to match seawater as the embryos develop, preparing them for life outside the pouch. He provides oxygen, removes carbon dioxide, supplies nutrients, and even delivers antibodies to protect the developing young from disease. When the embryos are fully developed, the male goes into labor, a process that can last for hours. He pumps and thrusts his body, contracting the muscles around the pouch to force the young out through the pouch opening. Baby seahorses, called fry, emerge fully formed, miniature versions of their parents, and immediately begin independent life. A single male might release anywhere from a few dozen to over 1,500 young, depending on the species. These tiny seahorses receive no parental care after birth. They drift as plankton, feeding on microscopic organisms, and most will not survive to adulthood, but some will, and they'll carry forward the genes and the behaviors, the courtship rituals and the daily dances that made their parents' pair bond possible. Within a day or two of giving birth, the male's pouch returns to its pre-pregnancy state, ready to receive a new clutch of eggs. And here, the female's timing becomes crucial. If she has prepared her eggs well, if her daily visits have kept her synchronized with her partner's cycle, she'll be ready to mate again immediately, transferring new eggs into the male's refreshed pouch and beginning the cycle anew. Pairs that remain together across multiple breeding cycles, that maintain their daily greeting dances and stay synchronized, tend to produce more offspring than pairs that form and dissolve repeatedly. The seahorse courtship system reveals several important principles about mate choice and pair bonding. First, it shows how courtship can extend beyond initial mate attraction to encompass ongoing maintenance of relationships. The daily greeting dances are courtship behaviors, but they're not about attracting a mate. They're about keeping one. Second, it demonstrates the evolution of unusual reproductive systems driven by particular ecological circumstances. Male pregnancy may have evolved to shorten the reproductive cycle, allowing females to begin preparing the next clutch of eggs, while males carry the current one, effectively parallelizing reproduction and increasing reproductive output. Third, it highlights the importance of synchronization in breeding. Successful reproduction in seahorses requires precise coordination between partners, coordination maintained through daily communication. As we watch these small fish performed their morning dance, swirling together in the early light, we're witnessing a courtship system refined over millions of years to solve the challenges of finding, choosing, and keeping mates in the complex three-dimensional environment of the ocean. We're seeing a bond that includes role reversal, with males taking on the metabolic burdens and risks of pregnancy that females bear in most other species. We're observing a daily ritual that reinforces commitment and maintains coordination. A conversation in motion that says, every morning, I'm still here, we're still together, we're still a team. And in a world where most fish reproduce through broadcast spawning, releasing eggs and sperm into the water and hoping for chance encounters, this intimate daily dance, this prolonged and tender courtship, this commitment that extends through pregnancy and beyond, seems almost impossibly romantic, almost impossibly human in its dedication. Yet, it is neither impossible nor human. It is simply another strategy, another way that evolution has found to bring partners together and keep them together long enough to give the next generation a chance. On the forest floor of Eastern Australia, something extraordinary is about to happen. A tiny spider, no bigger than a pencil eraser, has spotted a potential mate. She's larger than him, nearly twice his size, and in the spider world, this size difference can be dangerous. Female spiders of many species are known to eat males, particularly males whose courtship displays fail to impress. So this male cannot simply approach. He must announce himself. He must perform, and his performance must be nothing short of spectacular, because his life depends on it. He begins by raising his third pair of legs high above his body, waving them like flags. These legs are specially modified, longer than his other legs, and decorated with white tips that contrast sharply against his body. As he waves them, he vibrates his abdomen against the ground, producing vibrations scientists have dubbed rumble rumps and grind revs. These seismic signals travel through the substrate, announcing his presence to the female before she can even see him. Then, if she turns to face him, the real show begins. He unfurls a circular, iridescent flap from his abdomen, a structure that has been folded and hidden until this moment. The flap snaps into position, forming a brilliant disk of colour, blues and reds and purples that seem to glow with their own light. He waves his decorated legs, he bounces and sways, moving from side to side in what can only be described as a dance. This is the peacock spider, and despite his size, he is one of nature's most accomplished performers. The peacock spiders belong to the genus Maratus, part of the jumping spider family Salticidae. Nearly 100 species have been described, most from Australia, though the pace of discovery is accelerating as amateur naturalists and professional arachnologists search for new species. This explosion of discovery and public interest began in earnest around 2011, when an Australian scientist named Jürgen Otto began photographing and filming peacock spiders and sharing the images online. The videos went viral, captivating people who normally disliked or feared spiders. How could anyone fear something so tiny, so colourful, so earnest in its attempts to attract a mate? Male peacock spiders range from about 1.5 to 6 millimeters in length, small enough to sit comfortably on a fingernail. Females are slightly larger and lack the male's spectacular coloration, typically appearing brown and cryptic. The males, however, are anything but cryptic. Their opisthosomal flaps, specialized extensions of the abdomen, display some of the most vivid colors found in the animal kingdom. These colors are produced through structural coloration, where microscopic structures in the scales reflect light in specific wavelengths. The same basic physics that creates color in butterfly wings and soap bubbles creates the iridescent blues, greens, and purples of peacock spider flaps. Some species even create ultra-black regions, using scales whose microstructure absorbs over 99% of incident light, making adjacent colors appear even more brilliant by contrast. The courtship display of Maratus volans, one of the first species to be studied in detail, has been comprehensively documented and serves as a model for understanding the genus. When a male spots a female, he begins his approach cautiously. Peacock spiders have excellent vision, like all jumping spiders, with 4 forward-facing eyes that provide exceptional spatial resolution and color discrimination. The male can see the female clearly, and she can see him. He starts by waving his third legs while producing vibratory signals. If the female doesn't flee or attack, he continues, gradually moving closer while intensifying his display. The visual component of the display is complex and choreographed. The male raises his opisthosomal flap, holding it erect like a peacock's tail. The flap consists of a white-fringed, circular field decorated with species-specific patterns of color. In Maratus volans, the pattern resembles concentric rings of red, white, and blue. Other species have different patterns, spots, stripes, or geometric designs, each one unique to the species. With the flap raised, the male begins his dance. He lifts and lowers his decorated third legs. He sways his body from side to side. He advances toward the female, then retreats, testing her receptivity. But here's what makes the peacock spider display truly remarkable. Recent research using laser vibrometry has revealed that males produce complex vibratory signals throughout their courtship dances. These vibrations are not random. They're coordinated with specific visual displays creating multimodal signals that combine sight and vibration. When a male performs what researchers call a fan dance, raising and lowering his third legs while displaying his flap, he simultaneously produces vibrations with specific frequency and temporal patterns. Different display elements are associated with different vibratory signatures. Why combine visual and vibratory signals? Several factors likely contribute. First, the signals may be effective at different distances. Vibrations travel well through the substrate and might attract female attention from farther away than visual displays. Once the female is watching, visual signals provide higher information content, conveying colors and patterns that vibrations cannot. Second, multimodal signals may be harder to fake than single-mode signals. A male must coordinate his movements, his colors, and his vibrations, demonstrating neuromuscular integration and metabolic capacity. Third, different signal modalities might convey different types of information. Visual displays might indicate species identity and genetic quality, while vibratory signals might indicate physical condition and vigor. The female's role in peacock spider courtship is anything but passive. She watches the male's display intently, and she makes an active choice. Research has shown that females are highly selective. In one study of Maritus volans, females accepted only 16 out of 64 courtship attempts, a success rate of just 25%. When females did accept males, researchers found that visual signals were about twice as important as vibratory signals in determining mating success. Males with more colorful displays and more vigorous dances were more likely to be chosen, but the vibrations still mattered. Males who produced appropriate vibratory signals had better chances than those whose vibrations were weak or poorly coordinated. When a female rejects a male, she has several options. She might simply walk away, refusing to engage with his display. She might signal rejection by mimicking aspects of the male's dance, perhaps indicating that she is not a potential mate, but a rival male. Or, if the male is particularly persistent, she might attack him. Female peacock spiders can and do kill and eat males whose courtship displays are insufficiently impressive or inappropriately persistent. This creates enormous selective pressure on males to get their displays right. But rejection isn't the only danger males face. The elaborate displays themselves make males conspicuous to predators. Waving brightly colored flags around, bouncing and dancing, produces visual signals that predators can detect as easily as potential mates. And the energy cost of displaying is substantial. Males can perform for hours if necessary, repeating their displays multiple times for the same female, or performing for multiple females in succession. Each performance requires metabolic energy, and males must balance courtship effort against the need to feed and avoid predators. The payoff for successful males is significant. Peacock spiders are polygynous, meaning successful. Males can mate with multiple females. A male with a particularly impressive display, one that attracts and persuades many females, can have far more offspring than a less successful male. This intense sexual selection has driven the evolution of the spectacular colors and dances that make these spiders so captivating to human observers. The peacock spider courtship system reveals several insights about sexual selection and display evolution. It shows how intense female choice can drive the evolution of extreme traits, pushing males to develop colors and behaviors that seem excessive from a survival standpoint, but make perfect sense from a reproductive standpoint. It demonstrates the importance of multimodal signaling in courtship, showing that combining different types of signals can create more effective and more informative displays. And it reminds us that size is no barrier to complexity. These tiny spiders, smaller than many insects, perform courtship displays as elaborate and carefully choreographed as those of much larger animals, proof that behavioral and cognitive sophistication can evolve even in very small brains. As we imagine this tiny dancer perched on a leaf or twig, raising his iridescent flap and waving his legs in desperate hope of attracting a mate, it's hard not to feel something like empathy. The performance is so earnest, so vulnerable, so hopeful, despite the odds. He's risking everything, his energy, his safety, his life, for a chance at reproduction. And if his performance fails, he may never get another chance. But if it succeeds, if the female accepts him, then his genes and his colors and his dance moves will continue into the next generation. And the show will go on, spider after spider, generation after generation, each male performing, each female choosing, the accumulated weight of their decisions shaping the courtship displays of the future. It's evolution in miniature, sexual selection, operating at a scale so small we can barely see it, yet producing outcomes so spectacular we can't look away. The peacock spider, tiny showman of the forest floor, reminds us that beauty and complexity can emerge anywhere, that the drive to reproduce can inspire artistry in the smallest of creatures, and that sometimes the biggest performances come in the smallest packages. High in the canopy of a Papua New Guinea rainforest, the morning air fills with sound. Harsh, penetrating calls ring out from the treetops, a cacophony of competing voices. Something is about to happen. Males have gathered here, at this particular patch of forest, because it offers what they need: display perches with good visibility, branches clear of obstruction, and an audience. Females will come to this place, this traditional leg, to assess potential mates. And when they arrive, they will witness one of nature's most spectacular courtship displays, a performance that combines impossibly bright colors, bizarre postures, and movements that seem to defy physics. These are the birds of paradise, and their courtship rituals have captivated human observers for centuries. Since the first specimens reached Europe in the 16th century, and viewers, seeing birds with their feet removed by traders, concluded these must be creatures from heaven that never touched the ground. The birds of paradise comprise 45 species in the family Paradiseidae, found primarily in New Guinea, with some species in eastern Australia and nearby islands. They're relatives of crows, but evolution has taken them in dramatically different directions. The family shows extreme sexual dimorphism, the males of most species bearing elaborate plumage and performing complex displays, while females are relatively drab and cryptic. This pattern is the hallmark of polygynous mating systems, driven by intense sexual selection, and birds of paradise represent some of the most extreme examples of sexual selection's power to shape morphology and behavior. Consider the superb bird of paradise, recently recognized as comprising two separate species, one in New Guinea and one in the Vogelkop region. The male superb bird of paradise has some of the blackest plumage known to science. The feathers on his cape absorb over 99.95% of incident light, darker than any human-made fabric, comparable only to materials designed specifically for ultra-black applications. This extreme darkness is created by microscopic structures in the feathers that trap light, allowing only tiny amounts to escape. The black serves as background for his bright blue breastplate and blue eyebrows, making the blue appear even more luminous by contrast. When displaying, the male superb bird of paradise performs one of the most remarkable transformations in the avian world. He spreads his cape of black feathers until only his bright blue breast shield is visible from the front, creating what looks like an ellipse or a smiley face hovering in space. The surrounding feathers are so black that they seem to disappear, absorbing light so completely that the female sees only the blue elements against a void. Then he begins to dance, hopping from side to side, bouncing on his perch, his movements almost cartoonishly exaggerated. The recently discovered Vogelkop species performs a slightly different dance, gliding from side to side with rapid little shuffling steps, rather than the deep knee bends and bounces of his cousin. The Ragiana bird of paradise, Papua New Guinea's national bird, displays in groups at traditional leks in the forest canopy. Males gather at dawn, up to 10 individuals in prime leks, and begin their displays with synchronized calling. When females approach, the visual spectacle begins. Males spread their orange-red plumage, long lacy plumes that cascade from their flanks like waterfalls of color. They fan their wings, they bob and sway. They perform ritualized movements, each species having its own stereotyped display repertoire. The displays can last for minutes or hours, and females watch carefully, comparing males before making their choice. In this system, dominant males who secure the best display, perches and perform the most vigorous displays mate with multiple females, while subordinate males may not mate at all. What are females assessing during these displays? Research suggests multiple factors contribute to female choice. Display vigor matters. Males who perform more energetically, who repeat display elements more frequently, who maintain displays for longer periods, tend to achieve higher mating success. Display location within the lek also matters. Central territories, perches with good visibility and clear approaches are most desirable, and males compete intensely for these positions. The quality and extent of plumage matter as well. Males with longer plumes, more intense colors, and better maintained feathers are more attractive to females. But there's something deeper happening here, something about the displays themselves that goes beyond simple assessment of male quality. The displays are aesthetic performances, combining multiple elements in ways that suggest females are responding to beauty itself, not just to signs of health or vigor. This idea that aesthetic preferences can drive evolution independent of any survival benefits has a long and controversial history. Darwin himself suggested something like it, proposing that female preferences could cause male traits to evolve even in the absence of natural selection benefits. The idea fell out of favor for decades, but has been revived by biologists like Richard Prum, who argues that birds of paradise and related species provide evidence for what he calls the beauty happens theory of sexual selection. The argument goes like this. Imagine a population where females happen to prefer males with slightly longer tail feathers, perhaps because longer feathers are easier to detect at a distance. Males with longer tails get more matings and produce more offspring, but crucially, their offspring inherit not just the father's long tails, but also the mother's preference for long tails. This creates a genetic correlation between trait and preference, and it establishes a feedback loop longer tails are preferred because females prefer longer tails, and females prefer longer tails because their fathers had longer tails. The feedback can run away, driving the evolution of increasingly extreme traits, limited only by natural selection, acting against traits that become too costly or too cumbersome. This runaway process can lead to the evolution of arbitrary traits, features whose only adaptive value is that females prefer them. Once the feedback loop is established, male traits can evolve along trajectories determined more by female aesthetics than by survival benefits. Different populations might evolve different preferences, and thus different male traits, explaining the remarkable diversity of displays seen across closely related species. The superb bird of paradise has his black cape and blue shield. The king of Saxony bird of paradise has two extremely long head plumes that he waves independently. Wilson's bird of paradise has a bright blue head, yellow cape, green breast, and spiral tail feathers. Each species has evolved its own unique combination of features, potentially driven by slightly different aesthetic preferences in ancestral populations. The birds of paradise also demonstrate the role of ecology in shaping courtship systems. These elaborate displays are only possible because Papua New Guinea's rainforests provide abundant, reliable food resources. The birds eat mainly fruit and insects, both available year-round, freeing males from the need to help provision offspring. Females can raise young entirely on their own, building nests, incubating eggs, and feeding chicks without male assistance. This ecological abundance, combined with female-only parental care, creates conditions where males can invest all their energy in display rather than parenting, driving the evolution of increasingly elaborate courtship systems. But the paradise may not last. Many bird of paradise species face threats from habitat loss, hunting, and climate change. Papua New Guinea retains extensive forest cover, but logging and agricultural expansion are accelerating. Some species have very restricted ranges, found only on particular mountains or in particular valleys, making them especially vulnerable to habitat loss. Hunting pressure for feathers, while reduced from historical highs, continues in some areas. And as climate changes, the cool mountain forests some species depend on may shrink or disappear, pushing species toward higher elevations with nowhere else to go. The birds of paradise stand as testaments to sexual selection's power to create beauty, to shape form and behavior in ways that seem almost too elaborate to be real. Their displays reveal what can happen when females have choice and time, when males must compete purely on aesthetic grounds, when survival is secure enough that reproduction becomes the primary challenge. These birds show us evolution operating not just to maximize survival, but to maximize attractiveness, creating diversity not for function's sake, but for beauty's sake, for the sake of catching a choosy female's eye and holding it long enough to secure a chance at the future. They remind us that nature creates art without artists, beauty without intention, spectacular displays without an audience beyond the one that matters, the female assessing, comparing, choosing. And in her choices, repeated across generations, she sculpts the males of her species into living art, proof that evolution can be driven not just by death, but by desire, not just by survival, but by beauty, not just by fitness, but by aesthetics. On the seafloor off the coast of Japan, something mysterious appeared. Divers exploring at depths around 20 to 30 meters began noticing strange patterns in the sandy bottom. geometric formations resembling crop circles. The structures were about 2 meters in diameter, consisting of radially arranged ridges and valleys, radiating from a central depression, all decorated with fragments of shells and coral. The patterns appeared mysteriously and disappeared just as mysteriously, washed away by currents after a week or two. For nearly 2 decades, no one knew what created them or why. Aliens, underwater earthquakes, unusual currents. The mystery deepened as more circles were discovered, and then, finally, the architect was caught in the act. The creator of these remarkable formations was a fish, a tiny pufferfish no longer than 12 centimeters. And his reason for building was the oldest reason in the natural world: love. The white-spotted pufferfish, Torquigena albimaculosus, was formally described as a new species in 2014, after researchers connected the mysterious circles to their tiny creator. Males of this species spend 7 to 9 days constructing their circular formations, working almost constantly to shape the sand into precise geometric patterns. The discovery was made by underwater photographer Yoji Ukata, who observed a male pufferfish in the act of construction in 2012, solving a mystery that had puzzled divers and scientists since the circles were first noticed in the mid-1990s. The construction process is elaborate and exhausting. A male begins by using his belly to create a simple circular depression in the sand, swimming in circles to mark out the basic structure. This establishes the center and the overall diameter, typically about 2 meters across. Then begins the real work, creating the radial ridges and valleys that give the structure its distinctive appearance. The male swims from the outer edge toward the center, flapping his fins vigorously to push sand outward, creating valleys. Between these valleys, ridges form where the sand accumulates. The male makes dozens or hundreds of these inward and outward swimming movements, gradually building up the radial pattern. The precision of these structures is remarkable. The ridges and valleys are evenly spaced, typically 25 to 30 of them, arranged symmetrically around the circle. The spacing is consistent, suggesting the male somehow maintains a sense of the overall pattern, even though he's creating it piecemeal, one swim pass at a time. Researchers studying the behavior have identified simple rules the fish follows. He tends to start new valleys at lower elevations, filling in depressions to maintain relatively even ridge heights. He swims in approximately straight lines from outside to inside. The entry positions, directions, and lengths of individual excavation events show statistical regularities that, when simulated in computer models, successfully recreate the circular patterns seen in nature. This suggests the complex geometry emerges from repeated application of simple behavioral rules, an example of how elaborate structures can arise from simple algorithms. But the male doesn't stop with the radial ridges and valleys. He decorates the structure, gathering fragments of shells and coral and placing them along the ridgetops. The decorations are distributed around the circle, adding visual complexity to the structure. In the central area, where the female will eventually deposit eggs, if she chooses this male, the male performs additional work, creating an irregular maze-like pattern of shallow ditches, using undulating movements of his anal fin. This central region fills with fine sand particles, creating a different texture and appearance from the surrounding ridges and valleys. Why build such an elaborate structure? The obvious answer is female choice. When construction is complete, females visit the circles and inspect them. If a female likes what she sees, she'll mate with the male, laying her eggs in the fine sand in the center of the circle. But what specifically are females assessing? And what functional benefits, if any, do the structures provide? Research suggests the circles serve multiple functions. First, they're signals. In the relatively featureless sandy bottom where these fish live, a 2-meter-wide geometric structure is highly conspicuous. It advertises the male's presence and location, making it easier for females to find him. Second, the circles may provide information about male quality. Constructing a circle requires sustained effort over many days. Males who can complete high-quality circles with evenly spaced ridges, good symmetry, and abundant decorations demonstrate their physical condition and their ability to access and defend a territory with suitable sand. Larger males can push sand farther than smaller males, creating larger spaces between peaks. And females may use these subtle differences to assess male size and thus genetic quality. Third, and perhaps most importantly, the circles create a better environment for developing eggs. Researchers conducted fluid dynamics experiments using half-scale models of the circles, measuring water flow patterns around and through the structures. They found that the ridges and valleys channel water toward the center of the circle, regardless of the current direction. Upstream portions of the circle funnel water inward. Downstream peaks and valleys channel water outward. The result is that water flow at the center, where eggs are laid, is reduced by about 25% compared to the surrounding area. This creates a more stable environment with less turbulence, potentially protecting eggs from being swept away or buried in shifting sand. The fine particles concentrated in the center may also provide better substrate for egg attachment and better conditions for embryonic development. After mating, the male guards the nest for about 6 days, remaining in the area and performing some maintenance behaviors to keep the structure intact. He doesn't feed during this period, investing all his energy in defending his eggs from predators and ensuring the structure doesn't collapse. Once the eggs hatch, he abandons the site, and the circle gradually erodes, washed away by currents and fish activity. The male doesn't attempt to maintain or reuse the structure. Instead, he moves to a new area and begins construction again, creating a fresh circle for his next mating opportunity. This strategy makes sense given the ecology of the system. The circle building depends on the availability of fine sand particles. After the male performs his intensive construction and the female's eggs have developed in the center, much of the fine material has been sorted and concentrated in specific areas. Fresh construction in a new location with unsorted sediment may be more efficient than attempting to renovate or maintain an old structure. Additionally, moving to new areas may reduce predator attention and provide access to new female populations. The pufferfish circle represents an extreme example of a phenomenon called extended phenotype, where genes express themselves not just in the body that carries them, but in structures the organism creates in its environment. The concept was developed by evolutionary biologist Richard Dawkins to describe cases where genetic information influences the world beyond the organism's body. A beaver's dam is an extended phenotype, a bird's nest is an extended phenotype, and a pufferfish's circular structure is an extended phenotype, genes expressing themselves as geometry in sand. The evolutionary origin of this behavior remains mysterious. No other closely related species builds similar structures. The behavior appears to be unique to this species and a few close relatives, suggesting it evolved relatively recently in evolutionary time. What sequence of changes led from ordinary pufferfish courtship to this elaborate construction behavior? We can only speculate. Perhaps males initially created simple depressions to concentrate fine sand for females to lay eggs in. Females who preferred males with better depressions had offspring that developed in better conditions and thus survived better. This created selection pressure for males to create better depressions. Over generations, the structures became more elaborate, more geometric, more precisely constructed, driven by female preferences and by the functional benefits the structures provided. Today, these circles appear and disappear on Japanese seafloors, ephemeral art galleries created by fish, each male an artist working in sand and shell, creating his masterpiece, not for humans to admire, but for a single female to assess. The circles are reviewed, judged, sometimes accepted, sometimes rejected. When accepted, they serve as nurseries for the next generation, protective environments carefully engineered to give eggs the best chance. When rejected, they simply erode, erased by currents, leaving only a faint impression that soon disappears entirely. The male, if rejected, moves on and tries again, building another circle, swimming another 1,000 exhausting laps, pushing more sand, gathering more shells, hoping this time his geometry will speak to what the female is looking for, hoping his craftsmanship will earn him a chance at reproduction, hoping that 7 days of exhausting work will result in success. The pufferfish circle reminds us that courtship can take forms we wouldn't expect, that the drive to reproduce can inspire behaviors we might call artistic if we saw them in our own species. A fish working for a week, creating geometric patterns in sand with nothing but flapping fins, decorating ridges with shells, fine-tuning structure to optimize water flow for eggs he hasn't even fertilized yet. It's planning, it's construction, it's art, it's engineering, and it's all in service of the same goal that drives the bowerbird's constructions, and the firefly's flashes, and the peacock spider's dances. The goal of attracting a mate, of being chosen, of passing genes forward, of ensuring that this elaborate behavior, this remarkable ability, continues into the next generation. The circles will keep appearing, season after season, year after year, as long as male pufferfish have the genes to build them, and female pufferfish have the preferences to choose them. And each circle that succeeds, each female who lays eggs in that central depression, validates the value of the behavior and ensures its continuation. The circle is complete in more ways than one. We've journeyed through forests and meadows, across ocean floors, and into canopy heights, watching courtship rituals unfold in spectacular diversity. But beneath this surface variety lie common threads, shared principles that help us understand not just what these animals do, but why they do it. Now let's step back and examine the science that explains the spectacle, the evolutionary principles that have shaped these remarkable behaviors. All courtship displays represent solutions to a fundamental challenge: how to find a mate and convince them to reproduce with you. But this challenge unfolds differently depending on a species' ecology, life history, and mating system. In species where both parents provide care for offspring, like many birds, males and females form partnerships, and courtship often involves mutual displays and assessment. In species where only females provide care, Like most of the animals we've explored tonight, males compete primarily by displaying to females who then choose among the competitors. This pattern, where one sex competes and the other chooses, creates what's called sexual selection, a concept Charles Darwin introduced to explain traits that seem to contradict survival-based natural selection. Sexual selection operates through two primary mechanisms. Male-male competition favors traits that help males defeat rivals or monopolize mating opportunities. These are typically weapons like antlers, horns, or large body size. Female choice favors traits that make males more attractive to females, and these are typically ornaments and displays like bright colors, elaborate songs, or complex behaviors. The courtship rituals we've explored tonight are products of female choice. The question is, what makes some males more attractive than others? Why do females prefer elaborate displays? Several theories attempt to answer this. The good genes hypothesis suggests that displays provide honest information about male genetic quality. Males with bright colors, vigorous dances, or well-constructed nests are demonstrating their overall health and fitness. These traits are costly to produce and maintain, so only genuinely fit males can afford them. By choosing males with elaborate displays, females acquire good genes for their offspring, genes that helped their father survive and thrive despite the costs of displaying. This view explains displays as advertisements of quality, with costliness ensuring honesty. Related to this is the handicap principle proposed by Amos Zahavi. This suggests that displays are attractive precisely because they're costly and seemingly maladaptive. A peacock's tail is a handicap, making escape from predators more difficult. But this very handicap makes the tail an honest signal. A male peacock is advertising. I'm so fit that I can survive despite this burden. I can outrun predators even with this enormous, cumbersome tail. The logic is counterintuitive, but compelling. Costly signals cannot be easily faked, so they're reliable indicators of quality. Another perspective emphasizes sensory exploitation. Perhaps male traits evolved to take advantage of pre-existing biases in female sensory systems. Females might be predisposed to respond to certain colors, sounds, or patterns for reasons unrelated to mate choice. Bright colors might indicate ripe fruit, for instance, or certain sounds might signal danger. Males whose displays incorporate these stimuli capture female attention more effectively, even if the displays don't actually indicate male quality. Over time, displays become more elaborate as males evolve to exploit female sensory biases more effectively. A complementary idea is that complex displays provide more information than simple ones. Multimodal displays, combining visual, acoustic, vibratory, and chemical signals, allow females to assess multiple aspects of male quality simultaneously. A male who can coordinate singing, dancing, and color display demonstrates neuromuscular integration and metabolic capacity. Females who attend to multiple signal components get a more complete picture of potential mates. The courtship systems we've explored show evidence for all these mechanisms. Bowerbird bowers are costly to build and maintain, supporting both good genes and handicap ideas. The bowers also exploit female sensory biases for specific colors and patterns. Peacock spider displays combine multiple modalities, visual and vibratory, providing complex information. Firefly flash patterns are energetically expensive and precisely timed, suggesting they're honest signals of male quality. Birds of paradise displays are extreme handicaps, elaborate plumages that hinder flight and attract predators, yet they persist because females prefer them. What these systems share is sustained investment. Courtship takes time and energy. Male bowerbirds may spend years perfecting their skills. Male pufferfish work for a week on each circle. Peacock spiders risk death with each performance. Male seahorses invest months in pregnancy. These costs are real, and they create selection pressure, not just on males to display, but on females to use displays wisely, to extract accurate information and make good choices. Recent research has revealed that many courtship displays involve neuromuscular performance at or near the limits of what's physiologically possible. Male golden-collared manakins, tropical birds that perform acrobatic courtship displays, can produce wing snaps at frequencies of 50 to 60 Hz, requiring extraordinarily fast muscle contractions. During displays, their heart rates reach up to 1,300 beats per minute, among the highest recorded in any animal. These extreme performances are possible only because these birds have evolved specialized muscular, cardiovascular, and skeletal adaptations. Their wing bones are thickened and reshaped. Their flight muscles have enhanced contractile properties. Their cardiovascular systems deliver oxygen with exceptional efficiency. These specializations develop under the influence of hormones, particularly androgens like testosterone. In many species, courtship displays are testosterone dependent, meaning males with higher testosterone levels perform more vigorous displays. But testosterone is a double-edged sword. It promotes muscle development and aggressive behavior, but it also suppresses immune function, making individuals more susceptible to disease. This creates a trade-off. Males who can maintain elaborate displays despite high testosterone levels are demonstrating their ability to resist pathogens even with compromised immune systems, another form of honest signaling. The idea that displays signal immunocompetence is called the Hamilton-Zuck hypothesis, named after its proposers. It suggests that parasites and diseases create constant selection pressure on host immune systems, and displays that are costly to produce or maintain can only be supported by individuals with robust immune function. Females who choose males with elaborate displays are choosing males with good disease resistance, beneficial genes to pass on to offspring. But courtship isn't just about signaling quality. It's also about persuasion and even coercion. In many species, males attempt to manipulate female responses through various tactics. They might increase display intensity until females can no longer resist. They might exploit female sensory systems to trigger automatic responses. They might use courtship to reduce female aggression or wariness, particularly in species where females are larger and more aggressive than males, like spiders. This creates potential for sexual conflict, situations where the reproductive interests of males and females diverge. Males benefit from mating frequently with multiple partners. Females benefit from being selective, mating only with high-quality males. This conflict can lead to evolutionary arms races. Males evolve more manipulative displays. Females evolve greater resistance to manipulation. Males respond with even more extreme displays, and so on. Some of the elaborate courtship rituals we observe may be products of these ongoing conflicts. Males pushing female decision-making thresholds through ever more intense stimulation. Yet, despite these conflicts, many species maintain stable courtship systems over evolutionary time. The displays don't spiral into absurdity. Why not? several factors provide limits. Natural selection opposes traits that become too costly for survival. Developmental constraints limit what phenotypes are physically possible. And female preferences themselves may reach limits, beyond which further elaboration provides no additional benefit. A female's sensory and cognitive systems can only process so much information, and displays that are too complex or too intense might be overwhelming rather than attractive. The diversity of courtship systems across the animal kingdom reflects the interplay of these various forces: sexual selection pushing toward elaboration, natural selection pushing back against excessive cost, sensory biases shaping the direction of evolution, and ecological circumstances determining what's possible. The result is the spectacular variety we've explored tonight, each species finding its own solution to the universal challenge of attracting mates. Each solution shaped by millions of years of choices made by countless individuals. Each choice adding another small increment to the accumulated weight of selection that has crafted these remarkable behaviors. The courtship systems we've explored are impressive, beautiful even, but the drive to reproduce can also produce behaviors that are deceptive, dangerous, or downright deadly. Sexual selection doesn't just create honest signals and careful choices. It also creates arms races, conflicts, and strategies that would seem, if we encountered them in human contexts, morally questionable at best. Let's look at some of the darker aspects of courtship in the natural world. We've already encountered one example: the female Photurus fireflies, who mimic the flash patterns of Photinus females to lure males to their deaths. This aggressive mimicry exploits the male's courtship communication system, turning a language of love into a weapon. The male, responding to what he interprets as a receptive female of his own species, approaches and is attacked, killed, and consumed. The predatory female gains both nutrition and the toxic defensive compounds from the male's body, compounds she'll pass to her eggs. From the male's perspective, this is a catastrophic failure of his courtship attempt, the ultimate rejection. From the female's perspective, it's an effective hunting strategy that exploits a reliable food source, males attracted by sex signals. Deception appears in other courtship contexts as well. In some fish species, subordinate males adopt sneaker strategies, mimicking females in appearance and behavior to approach spawning pairs without triggering aggression from dominant males. When the female releases eggs, the sneaker male quickly fertilizes some of them before being detected and chased off. He gains fertilizations without investing in territory defense or elaborate displays. This is essentially reproductive parasitism, exploiting the courtship system without paying the costs. Sexual cannibalism, where females kill and eat males during or after mating, occurs in various species, but is particularly well known in spiders. We mentioned it in the context of peacock spiders, where males risk being eaten if their displays don't sufficiently impress females. In some spider species, males are eaten even when courtship is successful, consumed during or immediately after copulation. Why would this evolve? From the female's perspective, the male represents a substantial meal, protein she can use to provision eggs. From the male's perspective, being eaten after mating may not be so costly if he was unlikely to find another mate anyway. In some cases, males may even gain a fitness benefit from being cannibalized if the nutrients they provide allow the female to produce more or healthier offspring. But sexual cannibalism becomes more troubling when it occurs before copulation, when males are eaten despite attempting to court properly. This creates intense selection pressure on males to avoid being eaten while still approaching close enough to mate. Male spiders have evolved various strategies. Some bring gifts of prey wrapped in silk to distract females while mating. Some tap specific rhythms on female webs to signal their identity and intentions. Some perform elaborate vibratory displays designed to reduce female aggression. The peacock spider's complex dances may have evolved partly as appeasement displays, ways to approach dangerous females while minimizing risk. Theft is another dark aspect of some courtship systems. Male bowerbirds regularly steal decorations from neighboring bowers. A male who has collected a particularly desirable object, a bright blue feather or an unusual shell, may find it missing after leaving his bower unattended. The thief incorporates the stolen item into his own display, improving his chances while sabotaging his rivals. This creates selection pressure not just for good decoration finding ability, but for vigilance and defense. Males must guard their bowers or risk losing their investments to competitors. Some courtship systems involve coercion or forced copulation. In species where males can physically overpower females, courtship displays may be abbreviated or absent, with males simply pursuing and mating with females despite resistance. This is more common in species where male-male competition, rather than female choice, is the primary form of sexual selection. But even in species with elaborate courtship, forced copulation can occur. This raises uncomfortable questions about the evolution of resistance and consent in animal mating systems. Human intervention has also created new dark aspects to courtship. Light pollution affects fireflies profoundly. Artificial light at night interferes with their bioluminescent communication, making it harder for males and females to find each other. Studies show that firefly courtship activity decreases significantly under artificial lighting, with males flashing less frequently and females responding less reliably. This can lead to reduced reproductive success and population declines. In areas with heavy light pollution, some firefly populations have disappeared entirely. Habitat loss affects many species with elaborate courtship displays. Birds of paradise require intact forests with suitable display sites. Bowerbirds need particular types of vegetation and access to decoration materials. Pufferfish need sandy seafloors free from human disturbance. As habitats shrink and degrade, populations become fragmented, making it harder for individuals to find mates and for displays to occur in optimal conditions. Pesticides affect courting insects directly and indirectly. Insecticides kill fireflies and peacock spiders along with target pests. Herbicides reduce the vegetation insects need for perching, displaying, and hiding from predators. The effects cascade through ecosystems, reducing insect populations, and thus the food available for insectivorous birds, including species with elaborate courtship displays. Climate change alters the timing and feasibility of courtship in many species. Temperature changes affect when flowers bloom, when insects emerge, when birds migrate and begin breeding. If these events become desynchronized, if food resources peak before courtship begins or after offspring need them, reproductive success declines. Some high-altitude birds of paradise may face particular challenges as warming temperatures push suitable climate zones upward, potentially eliminating habitats at mountain peaks. These modern threats remind us that courtship systems, however elaborate and stable they may seem, exist within ecological contexts and depend on environmental conditions. When we alter those conditions through pollution, habitat destruction, or climate change, we risk disrupting not just individual species, but the intricate evolutionary relationships that have developed over millions of years. As our time together draws to a close, and as the world outside settles into deeper quiet, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've discovered tonight. We've watched spiders dance and fish build, birds transform, and beetles flash. We've explored some of nature's most elaborate performances, behaviors that exist at the intersection of beauty and biology, art and adaptation. And we've seen how the simple fact of sexual reproduction, the need to find and attract mates, has driven the evolution of extraordinary diversity in form, color, behavior, and communication. Every courtship ritual we've explored tonight is unique to its species, shaped by millions of years of evolutionary history, molded by the particular ecological challenges and opportunities each species faces. The bowerbird builds because his environment provides sticks, and the females of his species assess building skill. The firefly flashes because darkness provides a medium for light signals, and his ancestors evolved the biochemistry to produce light efficiently. The seahorse dances because his mate is monogamous, and coordination between partners increases reproductive success. The peacock spider performs because female spiders can see him clearly and choose based on visual and vibratory displays. The bird of paradise transforms because his forest provides abundant food, freeing him from parental duties to focus entirely on display. The pufferfish constructs because his sandy seafloor provides suitable substrate, and geometric patterns protect eggs from currents. Each solution is elegant in its own way, each perfectly matched to its ecological context. Yet all these diverse courtship systems share common themes. All involve signals, information passed from sender to receiver. All involve choice, decisions made by one partner about whether to accept another. All involve costs, investments of time, energy, and risk that participants must bear. And all involve evolution, the accumulated weight of countless choices made by countless individuals across countless generations. These courtship rituals remind us that evolution is not just about survival. It's also about beauty, complexity, and diversity. Natural selection shapes organisms to survive, to extract resources from environments, to avoid predators, and resist diseases. But sexual selection shapes organisms to attract, to display, to persuade, to capture attention, and hold it long enough to secure a chance at reproduction. The two forces work together, sometimes in alignment, sometimes in tension, shaping life into forms that are simultaneously functional and beautiful, practical and aesthetic. We humans find these displays captivating because we recognize something in them, not similarity. For we court quite differently, but resonance. We too signal and choose. We too invest time and energy in attracting mates. We too use displays to communicate quality and intention. We too make consequential decisions about partners based on imperfect information. We too sometimes deceive or are deceived. We too build and display and perform in hopes of being chosen. The specifics differ wildly, of course. We use words and gifts rather than flashes and dances, apartments and careers rather than bowers and circles. But the underlying challenges are the same. How do I signal my quality? How do I assess potential partners? How do I balance costs and benefits? How do I navigate the tension between competition and cooperation? Studying animal courtship gives us perspective on our own behaviors. It reminds us that many patterns we might think uniquely human, the use of beauty to attract partners, the creation of art to demonstrate skill, the giving of gifts to signal investment, the performance of elaborate displays to capture attention, have deep roots in evolutionary history. We are not so different from the bowerbird or the peacock spider as we might imagine. We are all participants in the great evolutionary game of finding mates and reproducing successfully, each species playing by its own rules, using its own strategies, but all working toward the same ultimate goal. As you drift toward sleep tonight, perhaps you'll dream of dancing spiders and flashing beetles, of building fish and displaying birds. Perhaps you'll imagine forests at dawn where birds gather to perform, meadows at dusk where fireflies begin their conversations, ocean floors where geometric patterns take shape in sand. These places are real. These performances are happening right now, somewhere on Earth. As you listen to these words, males are displaying and females are choosing. Signals are being sent and received. Courtship rituals refined over millions of years are unfolding in darkness and light, in water and air, on land and in trees. And tomorrow night, and the night after, and for as long as life persists on this planet, they will continue. New generations will learn the dances and the songs, the flash patterns and the building techniques. They'll perform and assess, signal and choose, continue the conversations that have been ongoing since their species evolved. The bowerbirds will build, the fireflies will flash, the seahorses will dance, the peacock spiders will perform, the birds of paradise will display, and the pufferfish will construct their circles, each one hoping to be chosen, each one playing out their role in evolution's ongoing theatre. The diversity of courtship in nature reminds us that there is no single way to solve the challenge of reproduction, no universal strategy that works for all species. Instead, evolution has found thousands of solutions, each one adapted to particular circumstances, each one beautiful in its own way. This diversity is worth preserving, worth protecting, worth marveling at. These courtship rituals are not just interesting behaviors. They're living links to the past, evidence of evolution's creativity, windows into the forces that have shaped the living world. When we lose species, we lose not just organisms, but entire courtship systems, unique solutions to the challenge of reproduction that will never exist again. So, as you settle into sleep, carry with you a sense of wonder at the elaborate lengths creatures will go to for a chance at reproduction. Marvel at the bowerbird who spends weeks building, at the pufferfish who swims thousands of exhausting laps, at the peacock spider who risks being eaten for his dance, at the male seahorse who becomes pregnant and gives birth, at the firefly who speaks in flashes of cold light, at the bird of paradise who transforms his body into a living artwork. All for love, or what passes for love in the evolutionary sense. All for reproduction, for the chance to pass genes forward, for the opportunity to contribute to the next generation. All for the continuation of their species, for the preservation of their elaborate displays and the preferences that favor them. These are evolution's love stories, written not in words, but in color and light and motion and form. They play out in every corner of the globe, in forests and meadows, in oceans and rivers, in deserts and mountains. They've been ongoing for millions of years, and will continue for millions more if we let them. Each performance is unique, yet all are connected by common threads, by the universal drive to reproduce, by the power of choice, by the beauty that emerges when evolution shapes behavior under the scrutiny of choosy partners. Thank you for joining me tonight on this journey through nature's courtship rituals. If you enjoyed this exploration, please consider subscribing to Bedtime Biology and leaving a comment below with your thoughts or suggestions for future episodes. Your support helps me continue creating these calming, educational videos about the wonders of the natural world. Until next time, sleep well, dream peacefully, and remember that the world is full of wonders, waiting patiently to be discovered. Good night.